Do you believe those stories where, like, if a car lands on a kid, like the mom can lift the car?
I've never seen it. I know there's something to be said for adrenaline, but I don't think a mom could lift a car.
Like, do they pull like every muscle in their body if they do that?
Yeah, I don't think they could do that. I don't think that's
not okay.
Yeah. Prove me wrong. Please prove me wrong. Someone send a video. I want to see it. Please.
In the comments. We want to see it.
Yeah. Post it in the comments. I really want to see it. All right. Hello and welcome back to Healthiest. Again, I'm here with my good friend Wes. And Wes, you shared something with me today that I thought it wasn't awesome. It was awesome, but with awesomeness, there's usually a little bit of a pain point too. But tell me tell the audience what happened today. Was it yesterday?
Yeah, I went to the doctor yesterday to just get a checkup, and
so just a routine standard.
Yeah. And they weighed me, and it was the most I've ever weighed. And that was, instead of getting depressed, well, I had a little bit of that yesterday. Came home and I was like, all right, I'm going to be good. And then I ate like 2 turkey and mashed potato sandwiches with some stuffing. Nice. And then woke up this morning and I could not sleep. And I was like, no, I'm getting back on track. So I worked out today and I felt good.
Nice. Yeah. And I mean, if you don't mind me asking, like, what was the weight?
It was at 212.
All right.
So I've got a follow-up appointment in a month and I want to see how much weight I can lose before then,
Yeah. Yeah. So, and you said that was the highest you've ever been?
Ever. Yeah.
What was the second highest?
203 was the last time I was the highest. That was
gotcha.
Nice. But I've gained 50 pounds since we moved into our
50 pounds. Yeah. I mean, you hide it so well. Like I've known you pretty much that long.
Yeah. Well, I wear baggy clothes and dark colors.
It's working for you, man. Yeah. Wow. So, I mean, obviously that was a big wake up call for you. And, when I talk to a lot of folks that I work with, there's usually one of those, events or triggers, if you want to call them, that gets people to kind of move themselves forward again. But I'm always interested in like that mindset. Like when you saw that number on the scale, like, what are you thinking?
It was either go full on and just not care anymore or get it back.
Yeah.
I can't afford to buy new jeans. No, it was, that was the wake up call. I think I've been in denial about checking my weight. I just haven't been doing it. And because I knew
intentionally, like you don't check your weight.
Yeah. I knew it was bad. I've been eating bad. Like my folks were in town. And so it was just vacation mode all week,
Yeah.
Like my dad kept wanting me he wanted me to go to Planet Fitness with him. And, I thought we were going to go, but then the first day something happened, and the next day, and then it was, we just kept going out to eat.
Yeah. So you just keep finding yourself at the restaurant.
I think I was at 202 before they came in town. So
no kidding. Yeah. So you gained.
Yeah, I gained
10 pounds in a week. It's amazing to me, like how fast the human body will put weight on, like if you just kind of let it go.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild.
No, it's a little ridiculous.
Yeah. So they left. You go to the doctor. You get the news, and you're like, here's kind of the cool thing that I really appreciate about this story is because, there's a fork in the road here.
Yeah.
Right. You have that thing, and you can either, like you said before, you could either just go down the road and be like, forget it. Fuck it. I'm just gonna do what I'm gonna do and not worry about it.
Yeah.
Or you can actually, try to make a change.
Yeah.
Why did you choose the change route?
I didn't want to feel depressed anymore. I was nervous because honestly, like I recently have been dealing with depression, but I feel pretty good right now.
Nice.
And like that part of me wanted to go into that, like just feel sorry for myself. And, but I was like, no, I feel good about myself when like I felt the best about myself ever when I was in really good shape. Right. So like, I'm like, let's get that back,
Yeah.
And so today, and I couldn't sleep. It was like 5 a.m. and I'm like, I was like, I can't come on a fitness podcast and keep getting fatter and fatter. I was like, he's going to be like,
it's like pressure.
Pointless to everybody.
It's pointless.
So that was part of it, really. I was like, I can't show up today.
So there's like a little element of accountability just being here.
Well, I was like, maybe if I like get in really good shape, it'll be a good advertisement, So I was thinking we could come up with a plan or something,
Yeah,
like
for
maybe
sure.
something I could do at home and in the meantime. But for now, like I also knew that if I did it first thing this morning, it would affect what I ate today. And I was good for the first time in years.
Why 5 a.m? Like you were
I couldn't sleep.
You were just thinking about it?
I was so fat that I couldn't my stomach was sticking out somewhere. I couldn't get comfortable. And I was like, what am I doing? It's great. I'm like, I just got up. I was like, yep.
Yeah.
So
enough is enough.
Yep.
Awesome. So 5 a.m, you're out in the garage, you're working out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I did a really simple little HIIT workout for like 12 minutes, 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. And,
nice.
Brutal. I mean, I couldn't even walk up the stairs after I got done. So I tried to do some yoga. My goal is to be able to do it at some point, get where I can stretch at all. I mean, it was simple stuff and it's crazy how bad it's gotten, but I used to be able to do this stuff, so
yeah,
one day at a time.
Yeah. I mean, you'll get it back. The hard part is just kind of clawing yourself back into that place.
Yeah. Just stay motivated, but I'm going to that's going to help. Like I've got a month to make the doctor be like, wow, you lost 12 pounds or something. I don't know, however much you can lose in a month, but we'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to starve myself or anything weird, but
yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Cause that's kind of I call it that like the cop out way, right? To lose a bunch of weight really fast.
Yeah.
People go on these starvation diets and, they sort of cheer for a few days and then it comes back pretty quickly.
That's how I did it the last time. Cause when I was at 203, I got down to 163, which is probably a little skinny. But I started out kind of keeping my diet the same, but just doing more workouts and stuff. And then I would notice I would hit these little plateaus. And at that point, I would change something in my diet. And then eventually I was on like a really strict diet, but I was eating, I think 2,200 calories a day. I was making sure is that true? Like if you don't eat enough, you may not lose weight, or that's what I've heard. Like sometimes you don't lose weight because you're not eating enough.
Yeah.
Is that a real thing?
I think it is. There's this whole debate. I guess you could call it a debate out there on calories in versus calories out, right? So if you want to lose weight, you have to eat less calories than you take in.
Mm-hmm.
In my experience, I have not always found that to be the case.
Okay.
I have found in more cases than I can count, people can eat more food, more calories than what they were eating prior and still lose. And here's the distinction. It's not necessarily lose weight. It's lose body fat.
Yeah.
Right. So, and that's the key, right? Yeah. That's what we all really want is we want to lose excess body fat, right? So it's more than just weight. So, I've really kind of dug into the physiology of this, which, is really fascinating. But if you think of your body and you've got all these fat cells, right? There's like 1 trillion fat cells in your body and they're like little balloons, right?
Yeah.
So the only way to make those balloons bigger is to put stuff in it.
Mm.
And the only way, of course, to make them smaller is to take stuff out, right? Super, super simple.
Yeah.
And there's actually doors on these fat cells. So if you want to make someone fatter, you got to open the front door and let stuff in, but lock down the back door.
Okay.
And that thing just fills up and grows, right? If you want to make someone smaller, you just open the back door, but keep that front door shut. Don't let anything else in.
Mm.
And hormones drive those doors. Right. So if your hormones are off, and we can talk about all kinds of different hormones, it's so complicated that I don't think anybody even really fully understands it. But if you understand that there are hormonal impacts on these fat cells, that's what, if we have the right hormonal cocktail in the bloodstream, it will just open that back door. It doesn't matter how many calories go in at your face. It could open that back door and let some of that fat out. So that's how you can become smaller in fat.
I mean, I'll make an admission that's embarrassing, but I don't really even know what a hormone is.
Yeah. Well, like testosterone, insulin, human growth factor, insulin growth factor. Like there's more than I even know, or more than I can even count.
Mm-hmm. Like I was wondering, I thought testosterone was, but I was like, I still don't know for sure. But
yeah, I think you're probably, I sometimes take it for granted. Like I just assume everybody knows what I know. Yeah. That's not the case, right? So it's just because I've been in this world forever. I think that's normal, is not knowing.
So I shouldn't be drinking this milkshake.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? So there's been research on this. So it's calories in, calories out. Okay. But then there's also the insulin, the carbohydrate insulin connection to fat loss.
Okay.
And that tends to be more where I sit. And you'll talk to people who believe both of those things. So it really kind of comes down to this belief. But at the end of the day, you have to test things personally and really figure out what's going to work. The overconsumption of highly processed carbohydrates I think for most people will agree, especially people that have lost weight and kept weight off for long periods of time, that is the thing that keeps those fat cells just growing and growing and growing.
Is the carbs.
It's the processed refined carbs. So we have to be really careful with that.
So like processed foods and like
yeah.
Okay. So
there's been a lot of people I know that don't eat very much. In fact, I was just working with a physician recently who was eating like 1,500 calories a day, and he could not lose any weight.
Really?
Yeah. And for the most part, he cut most of his carbohydrates out, most of his processed refined carbohydrates. But here's kind of the kicker on this. He was pre-diabetic.
Oh, okay.
And I can't tell you how many times over and over and over again, someone who's pre-diabetic, even if we decrease their calories and we clean things up, something is going on in there where their fat cells just don't let go. They just hold on.
Yeah.
It's so much harder for me to get people to lose weight when they're pre-diabetic.
Really?
Yeah, or diabetic.
What does pre-diabetic mean?
It just means that the blood sugar, you're not able to manage your blood sugar very well.
Okay.
Your insulin, some people might call it insulin resistance, because when you eat carbohydrates, your insulin levels go up. That's your body's response to having blood in your, having sugar in your blood.
Okay.
Right. And what that insulin does is it takes the sugar out and it converts it into different things. And one of the things it converts it into is free fatty acids. Guess where those free fatty acids go?
In your balloons?
Yeah, it opens the door and it puts it in, and it keeps the back door shut.
Okay.
So if you remove those carbohydrates, if you remove that signaling, that high insulin level, that's what opens the back door.
We want to keep that back door open.
Keep the back door open. Yeah, you don't want that front door open. But for diabetics, that tends to be a huge problem. And I call it the metabolic cliff. So if I'm talking with someone and they're mentioning prediabetes, I'm like, that is where you fall off the cliff, and it's so much harder to get yourself back to good health. To manage weight is it's so much harder. It can be done, don't get me wrong, but that's where things like the ketogenic diet might come in.
Yeah.
Just remove all the carbohydrates completely. So there's a time and a place for some of those things. And I think you've played with that a little bit, right?
Yeah. Like my biggest thing was no added sugars. Anything with added sugars in it, that was off the chart. I would not touch them when I was at my best form. And I try to be good with carbs, not eat as many. How do you feel about potatoes?
Totally fine.
Okay.
Yeah. And let me ask you one more question. How many were you measuring your calories as well? So you had low carb and
it was 22. I was doing I think it was 2,200, 2,250. And I would do, I think it was 60% protein, 20% carbs, 20% fat.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. You were doing this.
I was doing a macro diet.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
So, but it worked. It was, but it was a lot of work just to keep track of it all.
Yeah.
So I like your method where it's, these are the foods you can eat. And then.
Yeah. If you're a healthy person, what I recommend is just go back to real food. Right. And we talked about it last time, but it's a very simple prescription. It's meat, veggies, nuts, seeds, and fruit. So it's not no carb. Potato would fall under the vegetable category.
Okay. I was wondering. So what about sugar and fruit? What about, is there should you be careful, how much fruit you're eating, or is that with everything? Cause I'll go crazy on fruit and nuts.
Yeah.
I could eat a whole jar of raw nuts, the whole thing.
I think that there's obviously some level of moderation that we need to address here, right? So that just because I give you those categories doesn't necessarily mean just to go out and just eat as much as you can.
Yeah.
But what I find is that when we get people onto that prescription, usually when I start working with someone, I won't even give them any parameters as to how much of those things you can eat. I just let them eat however they want. Most people won't overeat those things.
So it's just kind of.
Yeah, some people do. And to your point, what you were just saying before about the fruit thing, someone who's got a pretty severe carb addiction, I find that those people tend to overdo the fruits.
Really?
Yeah. And we actually have a graph. I call those the macros that matter: meat, veggie, nuts, seeds, and fruit. So in our program in Athletic After 40, I created the software because I wanted to look at some things differently than what the normal nutrition world looks at, which is carbohydrates, protein, fat, and calories. So what I did is I created this pie chart. When we put data into the system, it shows you as a percentage where you're getting your where you're pulling your food groups from.
Okay.
Like how much of a percentage is coming from meat, how much from fruit, how much from nuts, how much from seeds, and then the dreaded other category, which is all the stuff that we want to try to avoid as much as possible. And someone who's carb addicted, and I get them onto this, I get them to buy into this meat, veggie, nuts, seeds, and fruit, we'll see the portion of that graph, a big section of it will be fruit.
Yeah.
And if I see that, that's kind of like, okay, maybe we have to have the conversation of like, how do we kind of pull that back a little bit and let's replace it with something different like meat.
That's what I try
or vegetables. Yeah.
Just eat a ton of meat,
Yeah.
Then I feel like I'm good. But it's not like processed,
Yeah, again, like anything, there's good and bad, right? Like you can find the good stuff or the not so good stuff. But I would say even the bad cut of meat is probably better than most of the processed refined crap that's out there.
Where does bacon fall?
Bacon is you should eat that all the time. That's what it falls. That is the best. It's so good.
It is delicious.
Yeah. Again, it's a processed meat for the most part.
It is.
You got to just look at like I always tell people to look at the ingredient labels. Because you'd be amazed, even just looking at bacon, if you look at the ingredient label, how much sugar they put in bacon.
Really?
Yeah. Like everything is like maple,
Oh, yeah.
Hickory smoked maple. Like they just add a bunch of sugar to it. So just look at the ingredient label. And if you can find something that's just like bacon, most of the time it's smoked, which should be fine. But you just don't want a lot of the added ingredients in there. And, another big thing that's gotten really popular over the last 5 years, and you've probably heard of this, is the carnivore diet. Have you heard of that?
A little bit. Was that just meat only?
Just meat only.
Yeah, I feel like that would cause you some problems, maybe.
I've never done it. I don't know anybody that's done it, but I see and listen to enough people who talk about it and have seemed to have some pretty incredible results. So I'm not necessarily an advocate for it, but it's interesting because it is the complete opposite of the highly processed, refined carbohydrate diet that so many people are on right now.
We did try to do an all protein diet once, and like on day one, it was just like eggs and stuff. And like I felt like my kidneys started hurting. So we scrapped it. But we knew somebody that lost a ton of weight doing that. But
if you remember like Atkins, right? Like he made that popular. That's where that first started. And then the ketogenic diet is kind of a spin-off of that. And I'm like, I kind of have this belief, and I've mentioned this to you before, but this belief in Mother Nature, right? Because I don't care what diet you're going to follow. Science has not figured out what the perfect diet is, right?
Yeah.
Like you can read research papers all day long, and it's so chaotic and so messy, and the science behind nutrition is a complete disaster. So I'm like, I just want to opt out of this whole thing. I'm going to put my belief instead of putting my belief into science, which is a disaster. I know it sounds funny, right? Don't put your belief in science yet. Maybe someday we'll get it figured out. But right now, nobody's got it figured out. I just decided to put my belief in Mother Nature. Mother Nature has been creating foods for us to be able to survive and thrive for millennia.
I thought you were going to say, I pray to lose weight.
Like the monks, I just breathe air. Live off air and water.
Yeah. So, okay. So right now I've got a pretty good, what do you call it? Tire around the waist.
Yeah. And that's like where guys get it, right? It's
yeah.
Like right
and like before, like last time I got it, where I dropped a bunch of weight, I wasn't quite 40. I think I turned 40 during.
And how old are you again?
43.
43. Okay.
And so it is more difficult 3 years later to lose weight than it was back then. Back then it was like, if I ate good for like one day, I could see a difference. And now I'm like, I feel like it takes like a week to see it. Like, what would you recommend for the fastest way to burn that off?
My hypothesis on that is that when you're on these sort of roller coasters over the course of your life, right, where you go up and down, and then of course we're aging.
Yeah.
When you're on this roller coaster, every single time you go through that cycle, you're a little bit less healthy. You're a little bit closer to type 2 diabetes. You're a little bit closer to being pre-diabetic. And every step you get closer to that, it's going to be a little bit harder for you to lose weight.
Wow.
So I don't necessarily think it's an age thing. This is just my hypothesis. I don't think it's necessarily an age thing because I know people who are in their 60s and they can gain weight and lose weight pretty easily. Okay. Not by big swings, but even me, like I can gain 5 to sometimes 8 pounds, not really body fat, but I can get bigger and smaller pretty quickly. So a healthy person, like a healthy metabolism, a healthy physiological state, your weight can vary quite a bit. And it's not always body fat.
How much does metabolism play a role in weight control?
I think we have to be a little more specific. Like, what do you mean by metabolism?
Like a fast metabolism, like a good metabolism. Because I felt like that was a big part of it when I was in shape, was getting my metabolism working quick. And I feel like the more I did towards that, the faster I dropped weight.
You know, metabolism it's an interesting thing because your body, of course, wants to be as efficient as possible. So just at rest, if you're not burning that many calories, that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Okay.
Right? Like you're just very, very efficient. Like someone who's very healthy like me, when I go to bed at night, my heart rate goes to like 45.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you could say like my body really slows down. Like everything just kind of slows down. So you could say that in that moment, I have a very slow metabolism.
Maybe I should ask this question. First, just a reminder, I don't know anything. What is metabolism?
Exactly, right? Like I think we all kind of throw that out there like, oh, you get older, your metabolism slows down, but nobody really knows what the heck that means, right? So you can affect your metabolism just by you and I sitting here and talking, just by our adrenaline levels going up just a little bit, because I get really excited when I get to do these podcasts and I get to see you. Like, this is super fun for me. I get like my metabolism is higher just by sitting here and talking to you.
So is it directly correlated with like heart rate then?
It could be.
Okay.
Yeah. Think of any system in your body. When any system in your body ramps up above and beyond normal, your metabolism is ramped up.
Okay.
Right? You're expending more energy. You're doing more. Your system is doing more physiologically. Right? Like I worked out a couple of days ago and we did an ungodly amount of squats. Like it was stupid. My legs have been so freaking sore for the last 3 days that I can barely walk down the stairs. And I normally don't get that bad, but my metabolism is ramped up because you're in this kind of healing phase, right? Mm-hmm. So your body is trying to repair that tissue and to try to make you better. And I've been way more hungry in the last couple of days and I've eaten way more calories than I normally would because I'm trying to feed that machine. Like you can just feel it.
So it's like, what exactly is Is it like the use of energy? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty safe way to say it. Yeah. Gotcha. It's your body's energy requirement at any given point in time.
Okay.
And that changes literally can change by the minute.
So be like your RPM gauge is higher.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you need more gas. More fuel to keep it going.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that RPM will change fairly quickly with someone who's very healthy. Like I can transition from high to low pretty quick. Someone who's maybe, again, pre-diabetic, right? They've fallen off the cliff. It's much harder for their metabolism, that RPM gauge, to even change. Their whole body is just sluggish. Like it just doesn't, I bring it back to just being healthy. If you're unhealthy, everything in your system is not working at capacity, right? Everything is just kind of down-regulated.
Nothing.
Yeah. And it's one of the reasons why, I think if we don't eat enough food in our day, you can still be fat and not even necessarily lose weight because your body adjusts for that by down-regulating everything. So if I'm not eating very much and my body's kind of in storage mode, let's say I'm just eating like 4 donuts every day, right? Yeah. The food that's going in there, the donuts are probably getting converted to free fatty acids. They're probably going into my fat cells, half of it, 50% of the energy. The other 50% is used to just survive. Yeah. But because I don't have any energy and my fat cells aren't releasing any of the cargo, what does my immune system do?
Breaks down.
It slows down, right? Like, what does my heart rate do? Slows down. What does my brain function do? Like, everything has to, like, your metabolism has to slow way down in order for you to just survive. And if you stay in those states long enough, like starvation diets, you can break yourself, right? You can become in a worse place than you were before. And if you go through enough of those cycles, that's what really affects your health.
So if over the course of doing this podcast, I get in really good shape, I should start asking smarter questions.
No.
No, I mean, like, wouldn't that be a result? Because then my brain would be working better.
I gotcha. I'm in like robot mode.
Theoretically.
Yeah.
Should test that hypothesis.
Yeah. I think we're, the thinking too for a lot of guys that I find, if I work out, I'm going to lose weight. So they tend to, and I consider that to be the easy part for a lot of guys. Going to the gym is easier than fixing your diet.
Yes.
For a lot of guys, right? The fixing the diet part is the really hard part.
Yeah.
So what worked for you back then, like if you're going to the gym and you can lose 10 pounds by not changing your diet, but just going to the gym, as you get older, that doesn't work as well, especially if you've been on those roller coasters. Yeah.
For me, it's like, if I go to the gym, it's like hand in hand. If I go to the gym, I'm less likely to eat bad because I don't want to waste my workout. Yeah. And so that's what felt good today. That's why today was literally the first day I didn't eat anything bad. And like the longest I can remember, because I was so tired after the workout. I was like, I'm not wasting that. Yeah. Like if I went out and had a donut, it would be like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So
it's cool that you can kind of connect that mentally.
Yeah.
Because there's the other mindset that a lot of people have. And it's like, well, I work out so I can eat whatever I want.
Yeah. And that's why I think it's good for me to work out in the morning, because otherwise it'll be like, then the rest of the day I can be like, okay, I don't want to waste that workout. But then also if like I eat bad, I'm not going to want to work out at night. Yeah.
Do you normally work out in the morning? Is that kind of your time?
No, I'm trying to think back. Yeah, I did. Yeah. But I'm not a morning person really. Although I have been getting up earlier to help with the kids and stuff, get them off to school because Kayla went back to work. But, but before I would generally work out in the mornings, I would say. Yeah. Yep.
And that's just, then you just feel better during the day and you don't have to worry about just eating bad foods.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like it's easier for me to control my diet if I do it that way, I think.
Yeah. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool.
So,
yeah. And are you sore at all?
A little. Yeah. I try to take it easy. So I'm real careful about that because like I worry like it takes a lot longer to feel better, like if I worked out really hard. Well, one, I wasn't capable. Like it was embarrassing how little I did and how winded I was.
Yeah, so it was mostly just gas tank, like heart rate.
Yeah, just like trying to, like, am I going to have a heart attack?
Well, I'm glad you didn't have a heart attack.
My heart rate was okay yesterday. My blood pressure and all that was fine. So
that's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
So I wasn't too worried about that. But as winded I was, like I had, I got up at like 5, and so usually I get up at 7 and start making lunches. And I was like, all right, by 7 I'm gonna have all the lunches ready and stuff. I was done working out at like 5:15, and I laid on the floor till about 7. I was dying. So
nice.
Yeah, I actually was later than normal after that, but I felt good for the rest of the day. So it was hard.
It's like a feeling of accomplishment, right?
Yeah.
I always say like the best part of the workout is when it's over.
Yep. I would 100% agree with that.
Usually it's about like 10 minutes after it's over, because that's when like physiologically everything comes back to normal.
Once I know that I'm not going to have a heart attack.
Yeah. Whenever I'm working out with anybody, I'm like, don't talk to me until about 10 minutes after the workout. Then we'll have a conversation. Just give me that 10 minutes. Yeah. Cool. And what kind of changes are you going to make nutritionally moving forward here? Like, what do you kind of have a plan? Like, what are you thinking?
Yeah. So I'm going to stay away from probably breads and stuff.
Cool.
No more ice cream.
Is that your thing?
Oh my God.
Yeah. Ice cream.
I want to like write a book about the guy that put ice cream in every household and make it a holiday, whoever that was. But it is my weak point. I love it so much. And then I'll probably drink less. Like, I don't know. What is alcohol? I've heard alcohol has quite an effect on health. Yeah. What would you say about that?
I think if we look at the studies, the research, it's a little bit more conclusive than just the broad general nutrition research. So I tend to lean on that. I believe in that a little bit more. And I think anyone you talk to now will agree that there is, besides maybe a little bit of a social lubricant, from a health standpoint, there is zero benefit to alcohol.
Yeah.
Zero. Like, it's all bad. You could make the argument that maybe like it makes me a little bit more socially, loose. There might be something there, but I think if you can live without it, you're going to be in a much better place. Yeah.
So I figure, because I don't know, I've been like, I'll have beer and stuff like that, like sometimes, and like I'll probably mix that all together, maybe a glass of whiskey here and there, but so.
If you don't mind me asking, like how often do you have a beer?
Well, it's been a couple 20 minutes.
A couple minutes.
Yeah. No,
Is that what you were drinking on the ride over here?
I mean, no, let's see. Sometimes I would have like if we had beer in the fridge, I would have one maybe with dinner sometimes, like not every night, but if we have bubblies though, I'll drink those,
Oh, like the sparkling water?
Yeah. Like just with, that's not alcohol, but,
Dude, sparkling water.
I drink those,
Is that the best?
Yeah.
Just
But I do drink, like the Trulies, they're really low in sugar.
Yeah.
So I would have those instead. Cause I used to drink Coke like crazy.
like straight up Coke?
Yeah. Like
Wow.
Coca-Cola.
Like the sugar, the full sugar
like
Coke.
6 a day, like maybe more sometimes, like a lot. And so,
I'm just curious, was that when you were at your heaviest, like the 202 or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah. When you were drinking.
Yeah. I quit drinking it. The first time I ever tried it, I heard somebody was like, "Oh, I quit drinking soda for a year and I lost like all this weight." And I was like, "I'll try it," and it helped. I drink a lot of coffee now, obviously, but, so I kind of broke that habit. I did have some Cokes last week, with my parents and stuff when we went out, and which is rare. I never drink that, but I would have like a flavored Truly with dinner instead sometime when I wasn't on my diet,
Yeah.
So now that will become maybe never, I don't know. So, but on the weekends and stuff like that, I might have a glass of whiskey or something, or a couple, like on a Saturday night or something like that,
Yeah.
So, but it depends, a couple times a week. When I was depressed, maybe a lot more.
Yeah. Was that just to makes you feel better? Does it calm you down at the end of the night? Like, what is the reason for the
Yeah, it's like, you get a buzz going, it gives you a little euphoria,
Yeah.
but,
When you were working out a lot before, were you drinking then too? Have you ever like gone cold turkey? Just curious.
I mean, back then it would be like maybe once a week I would have a little bit of whiskey or something, but it wasn't like, I was careful about it because, I would plug it into my macros and it would screw me up if I had it. And so if I felt like I had a problem with it, I would probably quit.
Gotcha.
So I know some good books that work, for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like that smoking book that I did. My buddy, the one that told me about it, he quit drinking with that book. And so I felt like if I was drinking like every day or something like that, or like getting drunk, and like, then I would, but usually it's like, a couple glasses, get a little buzz like on the weekend or something.
Yeah. Most of the guys that I work with, they have some alcohol in the week.
Yeah.
Most of them. Yeah.
I mean, I've got a flask if you.
I'd be dead. I'd be dead. I don't even know what I would do. My body would shut down.
It's like on Kingpin, Have you seen that with Woody Harrelson?
Yeah.
He's
the
like,
bowling movie.
He's like, so what have you been doing since the 70s? He's like, there was that time in the 80s when, just drinking, He's like, oh, are you still drinking? He's like, oh, no, I gave all that up. Why are you buying?
Why are you buying? That's awesome.
But yeah, I'm not too concerned about it, but I probably will not drink the beers anymore. But I was drinking that and not caring.
Yeah.
So,
the two things like that, big game changers I've seen with a lot of people I work with, like, is you can really cut down your alcohol or soda.
Yeah, no soda. There will be no soda.
Yeah.
Zero.
I've seen those two things like just completely change someone.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
You add in a little bit of exercise. It's amazing.
Yeah. So that was funny because even when I lost the weight last time, I cut down from like 6 Cokes a day to like 1 with dinner. And then I noticed when I started hitting that plateau, it was like 2 weeks of no results, but I was doing everything the same. I was like, okay.
So wait, you cut the Coke out and you had 2 weeks of no results?
Or like where it was like my results weren't quite as on the, like, I mean, I was still having some results, but it wasn't like the quick results that I was getting where I started out slow. Like I started walking 3 miles a day on the treadmill.
Yeah.
That's how I started. And then I kind of just eased my way into it. And then I would notice like all of a sudden I'm like, okay, my weight's not dropping a lot. I'm not seeing my muscle tone change. I'm not seeing visual results like that are very clear. And I was like, I think I hit a plateau, and then I would change something else. Gotcha. And so eventually it was get rid of the Cokes. Then it was get rid of the breads, and then cut all that stuff down. And eventually it was lemon water to start the day. And when I did that, I felt like I could have dropped all the weight I wanted to. Like I got too skinny at one point. Like
yeah. You said you were 160.
163, I think. I might have gotten lower than that. I almost feel like I might have gotten in the 150s, but I think 163, I know for sure I got at least out of there.
Yeah.
You know, from 203.
Here's a question again. I would love to hear your input on this because there's not really a right or wrong answer, but like, what do you think is what is the ideal weight? We'll just say for you, like, what do you think is the ideal
if I
weight?
was at like 175, I'm 6 foot.
Yeah.
So I think if I was like at 175, 170 in there, I would be really happy, you know.
And why did you pick 175? Like, where does that number come from?
When I was at that weight, I felt like I didn't look too skinny, but I felt really good and strong and like, you know,
yeah.
I mean, I never got like below 10% body fat or anything, but
yeah,
you know, that would be nice, but I don't.
Just like, what was your body fat? Do you know when you were 175?
I don't. I could guess, but you know, I couldn't quite see my abs.
Yeah.
So,
because that's the question everybody asks me is like, you know, what weight should I be? And I'm like, I really don't know.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I always just like to look back historically. Well, first of all, like, where did you feel your best?
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of
probably about there. Like, I remember even Kayla was like, you know, I could tell she thought I was getting too skinny when I got below that, you know. So,
yeah.
But.
Yeah. And then the other question I always ask people is like, what was the lightest you've been in your adult life?
Yeah, that would be 163.
163. Yeah. When was that? When you were like high school-ish or 40? Oh, yeah. 160, 40. Okay.
Yeah, because even in high school, I was, you know, probably 185 for most of the time. I remember in 01, I got down to 175 and I stayed there, you know, it's kept going up and fluctuating. And then in 03, I was in pretty good shape, but it still was right around the 175 mark.
Yeah.
So I never really dropped below that except for that last time when I got really into it and I was keeping track of my diet every day and working out, you know, in one way or another every single day.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And did you notice a difference in your strength between 175 and 160?
Well, no, I felt good and strong the whole time.
Okay.
So I think I was kind of overdid it a little bit, maybe, you know? So I didn't.
Because in the strength world, and a lot of guys want to build strength and they should be building strength if you're over 40, well, at any age really, but, and they're always like, you know, how strong should I be? And there's kind of this give or take. Like if you gain more weight, mass moves mass. That's what they say in powerlifting, mass moves mass. But how big is too big where you become unhealthy just to be able to lift more weight?
Yeah, that's because like, you know, I know people that are really into that. Like, you know, like I have never cared how much I could bench. I just don't care. Like I've never been in, I'm like, whatever makes.
You don't go into Planet Fitness and ask everybody how much they bench. No. Hey, how much you bench? I used to be that guy.
Really?
Many years ago.
Yeah, no, it's like, I think the most I was ever curling with like 35 pounds, you know, and so, but I just never cared too much because I was like, you know, it didn't really matter to me as long as I was able to, I just felt strong. Like to me, it's like, you know, could I run from a bear or something, you know? Like, like that's where I kind of looked at it. But, I mean, what would you say about that? Like, what are the benefits of being able to lift a lot? You know, how do you feel about that?
I think you can never be too strong. You can never have too much endurance. You can never be too powerful.
Yeah.
Like all those things, I think you can run with those. And I think you should run with those as far as you can. Safely, right? There's a right and a wrong way to do it. So I don't mean just go out and like lift as much weight as you can if you don't know what you're doing, because there's a right and wrong way to do it. But there's a lot to be said. You know, let's just use, you know, the lift that a human can move the most weight with, that would be a deadlift, right? Or maybe a back squat. Who would be stronger? Like someone who can deadlift 200 pounds or someone who can deadlift 100 pounds? Yeah. And is there an advantage to being able to lift 200 pounds off the floor as opposed to 100 pounds off the floor? Safely and efficiently? And I think just being a stronger human overall, if something were to ever come up in everyday life, you need to pick something up. Like I got this. Yeah. Right. It becomes almost simple. Like if you see what I did in the gym today, lifting this 75-pound box off the floor is like, it's not an issue. Yeah. And the stronger you get, the more bulletproof your body becomes. Right. So if you think of like from a tissue perspective, the muscles, the tendons, the ligaments, all these soft tissues, the stronger, the more weight you can move, which is your measure of strength, the more robust all that tissue becomes. And the more robust all that tissue becomes, the less likely you are to blow yourself up when you're doing stuff in your life. Okay. So you can never nobody ever said, God damn it, I'm just too strong. Right? Or I just ran that mile way too fast. You know? Yeah, I mean, besides the feeling of being exhausted, but there's, and again, if you understand how to do those things appropriately, you can become incredibly strong. And I think a lot of guys, they have no idea how much capacity they have. And I think I was just talking to a guy recently, and he was telling me how he's been lifting for a number of years and doing like deadlifts and squats and presses, and his numbers were so low because he was so afraid of getting hurt.
Yeah.
That in my mind, I'm like, this guy's not even close.
Really?
Not even like close to his full potential.
Wow.
Yeah.
That would be that's probably why I don't care. I'm always afraid I'm going to hurt myself.
Yeah. And that makes sense, And if you don't know what you're doing, or you've never been exposed to real strength training before, that makes perfect sense,
What do you bench?
Probably more than I should, but yeah. There's some like if I work with someone in Athletic After 40, I call it the performance path. And I've got all the main lifts. So the lifts that make you strong and build a foundation of strength, but then also the lifts that make you more powerful. Power is just a combination of strength and speed. So there's a couple exercises we work on there. So there's a list of like 7 exercises, and I've got benchmarks for all of those things. So when someone comes into my program, and I've worked with so many people that I kind of know what those benchmarks should be.
Yeah. Like
belts in martial arts, first you get your white belt.
Okay.
Then you get your blue belt, right? And you just kind of go up this thing until you get into, we call it athletes. And there's certain numbers that you have to hit in order to get to athlete. So that's kind of what we're pursuing. Okay. And I tell you, man, I got 7-year-old guys lifting who are way stronger than most 20-year-olds.
Really?
It's bizarre. Like,
that's awesome.
You'd be amazed. 65-year-old physicians who are as skinny as I am, who are like deadlifting over 200 pounds. Like, it's totally possible.
Do you believe those stories where like if a car lands on a kid, like the mom can lift the car?
I've never seen it. I know there's something to be said for adrenaline, but I don't think a mom could lift a car.
Like, do they pull like every muscle in their body if they do that?
Yeah, I don't think they can do that. I don't think that's
nothing.
Yeah. Prove me wrong. Please prove me wrong. Someone send a video. I want to see it. Please.
In the comments. We want to see it.
Yeah. Post it in the comments. I really want to see it. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's important to build strength. And with strength comes muscle as well, right? We're talking about robust tissue. When you build strength, you have more of a potential to build muscle tissue. But again, that tracks back into your nutrition as well, right? Like, you have to make sure that you're eating enough food to actually build muscle at the same time, if that's your goal. Right? You can never be too strong, but if you want to be a little bit stronger, you have to make sure that you're eating enough. Or if you want to be a little bit bigger, a little more muscle tissue, you have to eat accordingly. Okay. And that's where I struggle the most, is I know that for a lot of times I just don't eat enough.
Yeah.
I just, I tend to,
care.
I'm never hungry. I got that opposite problem that a lot of people have.
Yeah. I remember that on the macro diet, I always felt hungry. Like, I was always like wanting more.
Yeah.
Even though I was like kind of constantly eating.
Yeah.
But
was it hard to get 2,200? You said 2,200 calories?
It was. I felt like it was. Yeah. Like,
it was hard to stay within that.
It was hard to get to it a lot of times. It's like, oh, I got to go eat a whole nother piece of chicken or something, and then, but then when you screw it up, it's like, I would just try to keep the ratios. Like, I remember one Thanksgiving, I went crazy and I plugged in all the numbers, and I did like a workout where it's supposedly kill 1,000 calories, and ate like a gallon of that Greek yogurt or whatever with the high protein.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but
yeah, it's funny the lengths we go to sometimes to do the things.
Yeah.
And I was there, man. I remember doing all that stuff, and it wasn't until I'm like, I'm done with all this. Like, I'm just gonna eat real food.
Yeah.
I went back down to my body weight that I had when I was in high school.
Wow.
And I've like stayed there for the most part for like 20 years.
How often, if ever, do you break the diet? Like, where you eat like cheesecake or something?
My strategy in what I teach in Athletic After 40 is the 80% thing.
Okay.
And you've probably heard about that before. I think there might even be a name for it, but like, the 80% rule just means make 80% really good decisions, make 20% or leave yourself 20% room for indiscretion.
Okay.
Right. So if you want to have a beer once in a while, so be it. Because if I told you, like, Wes, man, starting today, meat, veggie, nuts, seeds, and fruit every single freaking day. That's all you're going to do for the rest of your life. You'd be like, it sounds great for like 6 months, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna have mess ups.
That's the problem too. It's like, I don't know. I like look at the pattern of holidays. It's like usually it breaks around Thanksgiving. That's the hardest one.
Yeah.
And then Christmas is right there, and eat
Yeah.
almost the same stuff on Christmas. But then Valentine's Day,
New Year's.
Yeah, New Year's.
Yeah.
Valentine's Day, and then there's Easter.
Yeah.
And it's like candy mostly. I used to work for a credit card processing company, and I was amazed I always figured February would be the month for chocolate to sell as a chocolate company. And but there's a reason to buy it every month. Like their numbers were astronomical every single month.
Yeah.
And now I see that, like, as soon as Valentine's Day is over, Easter is on the shelves. And I'm like, well, what's after that? It's going to be 4th of July, maybe.
Yeah.
That's probably the longest stint.
It just keeps going.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think what a lot of people don't realize, well, I think maybe they do realize it, but if you really point it out, like I always look at the holidays, like especially Thanksgiving and Christmas, those tend to be the two big ones where people gain the most weight. And I think there's even statistics around it. Like the average American male gains like 15 pounds or something, like 17 pounds over the holidays,
Wow.
which is wild, right? But if you really think about it, if you have more of a traditional kind of style of holiday, there's a lot of meat, veggie, nuts, seeds, and fruit there. Maybe not nuts and seeds, but plenty of meat for the most part. There's plenty of vegetables for the most part, right? And if you can just sort of hone in your focus onto those things, you'd be surprised.
Yeah.
You can get pretty full and still be super satisfied with just eating those things. And that's what I try to focus on usually during the holidays.
When was the last time you had a piece of candy?
Oh God, piece of candy. I don't know. It's been the last time it's maybe 15 plus years,
That's
maybe
awesome.
20 years.
Yeah. That's when I know I'm doing bad, is when I'm willing to eat candy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is it like an addiction?
I don't know. Like
you just
if
can't
I
get
went to
enough?
a movie or something, or like for me, like not chocolate so much, but like fruit candy, like sweet tart ropes or something.
Yeah, that's it.
That's an addiction.
Yeah.
That's when
Ice
I
cream.
know I'm like off the off the rails if I'm eating that stuff.
Yeah,
It's
that's
the
your
worst.
sign.
Yeah, it's like just I don't know, hardened corn syrup, I'm sure, but
Yeah.
that's the other thing. Try to stay away from that, But
Yeah. Again, if you're depending on how healthy you are, you can tolerate those things much more the more healthy you are. So I feel like if I went out and I had some ice cream and I had some candy, probably wouldn't affect me at all.
yeah, sure.
The next day I'd be totally fine. And it's even amazing to me, like during the holidays, a lot of times I'll overeat. We come to your house on New Year's
yeah.
and celebrate New Year's with you guys. And I know I eat way more calories than I should, but it doesn't affect me.
Yeah.
So again, the hypothesis I have, everybody says, oh, well, you've got great genetics. If you would have seen me when I was 25, if I would have stayed on that course and I've got cousins and everybody who have my DNA, I'd easily be 200 pounds.
No, I've seen that. I saw that in some comments on some of your stuff, and I was like, it's not genetic. It's the work. Like
100%.
it's the discipline. Maybe is a better word.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long do you think it would take you to like get fat if you just gave up like on your diet and like just ate?
It depends on the goal. Like, is the goal to get as fat as I can?
Get as fat.
Because I'll tell you the strategy I'd use. I'd drink soda. I'd start drinking alcohol again. I'd eat a ton of pizza. I'd eat ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
I'd consume a shit ton of
like
carbohydrates.
If you had to gain like 30 pounds for a movie role,
that'd be my go-to.
how fast do you think you could do? Like,
it's a good question. I don't know.
I wonder if it would take like
I don't know.
a week or two or longer even. Like who was it? I don't remember. Christian Bale or somebody had to gain a bunch of weight for a role, and they were melting milkshakes and drinking it. That's how they did it.
Yeah.
Forget. It might have been Colin Farrell. I can't remember, but
I don't know how long it would take. I don't really want to find out either. I'm not willing to go down that road.
Yeah. I did see. I watched this video. It was interesting. It was a personal trainer, and he had a guy that was pretty obese. Like over 350, I think. And he was having health problems. He was probably in his 50s. And the trainer wanted to show him how to do it. So he took like 6 months to gain weight, and he got like pretty big.
Yeah.
And it was really funny because when he showed up to the guy hadn't seen him in 6 months, he was just cracking up because he couldn't believe how much weight. But then he lost all of it.
Nice.
And I was like, dang, it was crazy. But the guy was like, he would like work really hard and then go cheat on the diet, and not tell his family or anybody. But by the end of it, I think he got down to like 250 and was, it was really good for him. And it was an interesting study.
Yeah.
experiment.
Yeah.
So
I met a guy once, this was many, many years ago at a fitness trade show. And he was a super jacked dude. And he was a model for fitness magazines. And he had a period of time where he would get paid to do the before after pictures, but he would gain weight
for the befores.
Yeah. So he was never like a fat guy. He would just gain weight specifically to do those pictures for these supplement companies and magazines, whatever, so that they could use him as one of his advertisements.
That's how we met.
Yeah.
No, I thought about that. I'd be like, all right, this is my before now. I've gotten there.
Yeah. Let's go. Let's rock and roll. Let's get to the after.
I saw a guy do that one on a video. He wanted to show how you could do it in reverse, where he took his after picture first and then ate a bunch of salty foods and stuff like that for like 24 hours and then took a nice before picture, and then would drop it like the I or whatever.
Yeah. And even like lighting and stuff, like you can play with some of those things.
Yeah, it's amazing how different lighting can change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've even had like pictures taken of me and I'm like, I'm not that ripped. Like I'll look at myself, I'm like, I'm not that. Like this picture will be like, because the lighting is just right, And I'm like, dude, like who is that guy?
Yeah.
It's not me. Yeah. Well, anyways, what do you think? Anything else we need to cover? I think we pretty much covered everything for today, huh? I'm excited for the next one, man.
I know. Hopefully it'll be
because you'll be holding the course and we'll see how much you're down.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you thinking? Like, let's say 7 days. What do you think? Based on your history of doing
I think it should at least be 5 pounds, but hopefully more than that. We'll see how, quickly I can get back into it.
Yeah.
But,
that seems reasonable. I'd say anywhere between like 2 to 5, I think is probably reasonable when you first start.
Yeah. Yeah. It was hard today, but we'll stay motivated. So,
yeah, man.
But if I could lose 12 pounds in a month, I'd be pretty happy.
That's very realistic.
Yeah.
In my experience.
Yeah.
Again, unless you're like pre-diabetic. Did they do a glucose test on you by chance?
No, I haven't. I have to go back. It was just kind of like a consult, get history and all that and set up. I'm going back on April 4th. So it's literally 1 month to the day when I went. So, we'll see. Then I'm going to have my labs and all that stuff.
Okay.
So glucose test.
And have them do an HbA1c. Kayla will know what that is.
Okay.
But it's basically, it looks back about 3 months on what your blood sugars were.
Oh, really?
And it'll give you a number and it'll tell you if you're pre-diabetic or close to pre-diabetic or
And so is that like just where you are? Is that like a permanent thing or?
No, it can be manipulated.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. It'd be a good number to find out.
Okay.
Yeah.
HbA1c.
I'll send it to you.
Okay. Thanks.
HbA1c. Get that tested because I believe, and a lot of people believe, that it should be in just a standard panel, but it's not always in a standard panel, but you should be getting checked for that. HbA1c, especially if you're over 40 and maybe you haven't been eating very well. Super, super important. That's your red flag because you don't want to go off the metabolic cliff.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Healthiest.